Ben Maddox, a late-night horror podcaster, receives an anonymous email claiming a forgotten TV channel is back on air and people in his hometown are disappearing after watching it. Curious and skeptical, Ben drives from Philadelphia to his quiet hometown of Ashpine, where his childhood memories mix with whispers of local legends long buried in static and dust. His first stop is the old radio tower Hill, where Channel 13 used to transmit before it was shut down following a strange signal anomaly in 1984 that killed 3 engineers. At the base of the hill, Ben meets Doug, the only technician who survived the 1984 incident, now living as a recluse with radio signal shielding covering every inch of his house. Doug warns Ben not to tune in to Channel 13, saying it's not just a signal, it's a door and once you open it, it doesn't shut quietly. Despite the warning, Ben sets up his podcast gear at his late father's farmhouse and adjusts an old analog TV with a coat hanger antenna, searching for the forbidden frequency. After hours of snow and buzz, at exactly 3:13 a.m. Channel 13 flickers on grainy black and white footage of an empty room, a ticking metronome and a woman staring at the screen. Ben records everything, unsure if it's a hoax or hallucination, but the next morning his podcast listeners flood his inbox, saying they saw the same footage through his live stream. Listeners claim they heard whispers behind the woman's stare. Some say it was their name, others a countdown, but all report nightmares and sleep paralysis that night. Ben interviews locals at a coffee shop, and an older man recalls seeing Channel 13 as a kid. His brother vanished 2 days later and was never found, only his shoes left. Back at the farmhouse, Ben finds strange symbols etched into the static-filled corners of the screen during playback. Symbols he recognizes from childhood sketches he never remembered drawing. That night his laptop crashes as a new message appears. You saw her. She saw you too. A loud knock echoes from the front door but no one is there. The next morning his neighbor Mrs. Corman, a kind widow, mentions she tuned to Channel 13 accidentally and now sees faces in mirrors, standing just behind her reflection. Ben checks in on her later and finds all her mirrors covered with bedsheets and duct tape, and she refuses to speak above a whisper, pointing at the TV with trembling hands. Ben returns to his childhood bedroom to retrieve old VHS tapes and finds one labeled, "Do Not Watch 13, in his father's handwriting, taped over a 1984 Halloween special. Playing the tape reveals footage of his father, a news anchor, warning about Channel 13 and the signal that learns, cut off abruptly by static and then screams from behind the camera. Ben's own podcast now auto-publishes an episode he didn't record, his voice speaking in reverse, ending with coordinates and a cryptic phrase, "She waits between the seconds." Following the coordinates leads Ben to the old abandoned Ashpine Mental Asylum, shut down in 1985, the same year Channel 13 supposedly stopped broadcasting. Inside the asylum, the walls are covered in drawings of eyes, clocks, and a strange figure named Mother Static, a humanoid silhouette made entirely of black and white television snow. He finds a patient file for ClaraVance, listed as TV Syndrome Case Number 13, who reportedly disappeared during electrotherapy, her final words being, "Tell them not to watch." When he returns home, Ben finds every clock in the farmhouse frozen at 3:13, and a new metronome ticking in the living room, one he never owned or brought in. That night he dreams of being inside the Channel 13 broadcast, sitting in the same chair as Clara, unable to move while viewers from around the world stare into his eyes. He awakens screaming and covered in dust as though he's been underground. His phone shows he's been missing for 3 days and police have already been contacted by his audience. At the police station, Sheriff Lyle confesses others have gone missing too, most recently a teenage boy who live-streamed the channel to TikTok before collapsing and falling into a coma. Sheriff gives Ben a box of evidence from 1984, confiscated cassette tapes, Channel 13 broadcasting plans, and a scribbled note saying, "TVs are no longer screens, they're gateways." Ben contacts his hacker friend Simone, who analyzes the Channel 13 signal and discovers it contains buried sub-audio messages that react differently depending on the listener's emotional state. Simone warns him the signal is organic, evolving in real time, and possibly sentient, like a neural network feeding on human attention, trauma, and fear as energy. Later, Ben finds a voice recording from his father hidden in a tape. "If you're hearing this, I'm already inside. You must burn the antenna." Ben races back to the hill to destroy the old transmission tower, but as he approaches, the structure begins to hum and glow faintly as if awakening. Lightning strikes the tower before he reaches it and time seems to freeze. Ben hears dozens of voices whispering in unison, "You are the new anchor. Keep us alive." Ben awakens at the base of the tower, disoriented and bleeding from the ears, with his phone showing a video of him repeating the phrase, "This is Channel 13 signing in." He calls Simone, who tells him his live stream went viral again, but it wasn't him in the footage. It was a copy, his face twisted into a smile he never made. Simone says thousands of viewers reported hallucinations and insomnia after watching his stream. One man in Texas gouged his eyes out, writing "She's behind the screen" in his own blood. Back in town, a local priest invites Ben to speak with him after church, claiming he saw ClaraVance in his dream last night, wearing her asylum gown and humming Static. The priest shares an old church log that warns of false prophets from the Static realm, and predicts a signal shepherd will usher in a new age of blind watchers. Ben realizes he's become the signal's vessel, a medium through which the entity can reach others, not by possession but by perception. The more people see him, the stronger it grows. He isolates himself in the basement of his farmhouse, lining the walls with tinfoil and turning off all electronics, but still hears faint metronome clicks echoing inside his head. A mirror in the basement fogs up with breath and a message appears, "We are all tuned in now." His reflection tilts its head even when Ben stays still. Ben's next move is to track down ClaraVance's family. He finds her younger brother, now an old man who believes Clara never died. He says she became part of the frequency. The brother shows Ben a locked suitcase Clara left behind. Inside is a journal full of countdowns, diagrams and warnings. Do not speak the signal. Do not watch the eye. One drawing catches Ben's attention. A transmission tower with dozens of eyes surrounding it, captioned, "The watchers are fed by our fear," and beneath it, a map of Ashpine's underground. Ben ventures into Ashpine's abandoned sewer tunnels, flashlight flickering, and finds hidden cables leading to a chamber filled with old analog equipment, humming with power despite no known source. In the chamber center is a makeshift shrine. Photos of past viewers, burnt TV remotes, melted radios, and a small screen showing Clara's eyes staring directly into the lens. Suddenly, the screen flashes images from Ben's memories. His childhood, arguments with his father, the moment his mother died, blending reality and broadcast until he vomits from sensory overload. He smashes the screen and the shrine powers down. For a brief moment he feels silence, like a signal lost, but the metronome returns, now ticking inside his chest. Simone calls in a panic. Channel 13 is now appearing on smart TVs and phones, bypassing apps, playing short static bursts followed by distorted images of Ben's face. The signal is replicating itself across devices, turning technology into haunted mirrors, each transmission consuming more minds. Hospitals fill with people in comas, all staring wide-eyed and unblinking. Desperate, Ben visits the library to dig deeper and finds a declassified military file. Project Signa, Signal-Induced Genetic Neurological Echo, a Cold War experiment using TV waves to access consciousness. The project failed when one subject, ClaraVance, formed a mental feedback loop so powerful, it rewired the broadcast hardware. Her thoughts became the channel itself. Clara was declared mentally dead but biologically alive. Her brain waves locked in the frequency, eternally broadcast, eternally watching, now feeding on others to stay alive. Ben learns the metronome is her heartbeat, transferred through signal, and those who hear it long enough begin to sync with her rhythm, losing identity and becoming part of the hive. The only way to end it, the file says, is to scramble the source loop, requiring someone to manually overwrite the core signal from the original Channel 13 control board. Ben returns to the tower where he finds a rusted access hatch and climbs into the sublevel studio, untouched since 1984, cables rotting and reels of tape still marked, Test Subject 13. In the control booth sits an old broadcast desk and monitor. Ben stares at it as it powers up on its own, revealing Clara sitting silently, aged but alive behind the screen. She speaks in static, her voice forming in Ben's head. "You opened the door. You knew they'd watch. Now you are me." His nose bleeds, eyes flickering like faulty TVs. Ben tries to load a Signal Scramble cassette he found in the military file, but Clara's hands reach through the screen, gripping his wrists as the studio lights flicker violently. He fights back, forcing the tape into the slot and slams the control switch. The screen glitches. Clara screams in distorted echoes as the signal shatters into blinding white light. When Ben wakes, it's quiet. The air is heavy, the metronome is gone. Outside, no TVs work, no phones ring. The town is disconnected, like the signal never existed. Simone confirms the channel 13 frequency is gone worldwide, even from dark web radio logs. But something feels off. People have started dreaming in static. Ben returns to his podcast to explain everything, but when he records, the waveform on his laptop forms an eye and he doesn't remember what he just said. One of his listeners uploads a clip where Ben's face twists mid-sentence and a whisper says, "You looked too long. Now she's in you." He tries to delete the video, but it auto-replicates. Comments flood in about hallucinations. "She waved at me through the screen. Why is my TV ticking? My kids won't blink." Simone begs Ben to disappear to go off-grid. He packs up and drives deep into the Appalachian woods, where no signal reaches, leaving devices behind in a creek. Living off-grid, Ben slowly begins to feel normal. No dreams, no static. Until one day he hears a soft ticking in the trees, like a faraway metronome syncing with his breath. That night his old analog radio, powered by crank, switches on by itself. Channel 13's chime plays, followed by his voice saying, "This is not the end." Ben smashes the radio, but when he looks up, the stars above shift into strange constellations, forming an eye, blinking once before fading into darkness. He runs through the forest, but the trees twist and warp like static, and in flashes he sees Clara's silhouette walking just ahead, dragging a coaxial cable behind her. He trips over an old antenna buried in the soil, as if nature itself is absorbing the signal, growing it like roots from an invisible tower. In town, people start seeing strange weather. Clouds shaped like tuning knobs, thunderstorms flickering like TV static. News anchors begin glitching mid-broadcast with brief flashes of Clara's face. The signal wasn't defeated, it was freed. No longer tied to one tower, it's everywhere now. It lives in the concept of watching, and we're all participants. Simone disappears. Her last voice note simply said, "She's learning faster now. She's using stories, podcasts, TikToks. Every view is an invitation." Ben carves a warning into a tree. "Do not watch. Do not listen. Block channel 13. Burn everything analog." But the tree hums beneath his knife. He finds an old hunter who claims he's seen the eye in the lake and warns Ben, "You can't fight the channel. You are the channel." Ben accepts the truth, he's no longer just a person. He's a broadcaster. And the only hope is to redirect the signal into something harmless. Something already overflowing with fear. He returns to his podcast, fully aware now but calm. He begins a new series, Tales from Channel 13, disguising warnings as horror fiction. Listeners find the stories too realistic. Many report hearing ticking afterward, or seeing someone in the corner of their room whispering, "You tuned in." Ben logs every location that listens. His goal: trace the spread of the signal and build a map. He calls it the static web. At 3:13 every night he hears thousands of whispers. Listeners syncing, joining the network. Some fight it. Others embrace it. A few become broadcasters themselves. Government agencies notice the phenomenon, but every attempt to shut it down ends in corrupted files, fried hard drives, or officials speaking in reverse before vanishing. Ben's eyes now flicker when he blinks. He sees through signals, through screens. He watches those who watch him. And he's not alone. Clara sits across from him sometimes. Only he can see her. She smiles now. He's proud. "They're watching you. That's how I stay." The static web becomes a myth online. Conspiracies, ARGs, creepypasta. But those who dive too deep vanish, their profiles erased, replaced by a single line, "Signal received." One night, Ben vanishes from his cabin. The only thing left is a playing cassette labeled Episode 13, The Signal Shepherd. It ends with Ben whispering, "You chose to listen. You opened the door. Now, tell your story." Back in Ashpine, the tower glows again. It was never broken. It was waiting. TVs in thrift stores turn on at 3:13 a.m., even when unplugged. The static shows smiling faces mouthing silent words. A new Channel 13 podcast launches anonymously. New voice, new host. Same metronome. Same countdown. Kids in school hum a song they've never heard. It ends with, "Mother Static loves you." People around the world report shared dreams of Clara hosting a game show where wrong answers make the screen go black. Permanently. Smart homes flicker with power surges at 3:13. Static updates installed successfully, reads the message. No one recalls installing anything. A final video uploads to Ben's old podcast. A dark room ticking, then a whisper, "You are ready." A man in Florida records the video onto VHS and plays it through an analog TV. His entire neighborhood blacks out. Only one word is found burned into his lawn. Welcome. Hospitals rename the coma phenomenon channel syndrome. No cure. All victims show one trait. Eyes move as if watching an invisible screen. Conspiracy forums post coordinates from each incident. When mapped, they form a perfect satellite dish across North America. The eye is now in the sky. Telescopes show interference shaped like a signal pattern from a human brain. The final episode of the new podcast is released with no title, just numbers. 13-13-13-13. It has 13 million plays overnight. People vanish mid-live stream. Static replaces their face. Someone comments, "That's not them anymore." And if you're still reading this, well, you're already tuned in. The question is no longer how to stop it. It's how long you can resist. Welcome to Channel 13. Your story begins.